Welcome to Fly on the Wall podcast. I'm your host, Chris Sonksen, CEO and founder of Church Boom. Here you get to sit in on a live coaching session as I coach pastors through the ministry challenges we all face. If you find this podcast helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Hey everyone, welcome to today's podcast with my buddy Tondo. He is an incredible leader from South Africa, but now pastoring in America here. And he is just a great leader. He's got a great podcast and books out and all that. He's just an incredible leader and incredible thinker. And we're talking today about how to deal with criticism. We all deal with it. You cannot be a leader or a pastor and not have criticism. But how do you deal with it? How does it affect you? Does it cause you to drift away from your mission because you're people pleasing, or because we get insecure, or because we have a fear of people leaving, or whatever it may be? It is a great conversation. I think you're going to absolutely love it. Also, want to encourage you, before we jump into that conversation, to check out churchboom.org. We have something called the Church Boom Network. Maybe you don't belong to a network and you need to. It's a place where you can come together monthly with other pastors, learn and grow together, a tribe where you can call your own. We get together in person a couple times a year. It is a great thing to belong to and a network to belong to. So check it out, churchboom.org, and check out the Church Boom Network. But let's jump into today's conversation. I know you're going to love it. Well, man, before we jump into the coaching thing, I wanted to make sure everybody knows about you. You are a pastor. You're an author. I think you've got a couple books out, right? And
yes, sir.
Yeah, Tondo, Tondo Sibanda. And also you have a podcast. Give us a 30-second snapshot of that.
Oh, yes. I've just launched a podcast. It's called The Crafted Mindset. It's really all about helping people make the mental shift. You know, there are 4 tools to building anything sustainably. There is a mindset, skill set, tool set, and an action set. But everything begins as a mindset before it is an action set. So the podcast helps people to recalibrate the mind so that the skill set, tool set, and action set is aligned. That way people can see much better outcomes.
That's awesome. So it's called Crafted Mindset. That's the name of the podcast, right?
Crafted Mindset.
All
yes,
right.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Well, man, we want everybody listening to that, because I have no doubt that you're going to drop some gold on the Crafted Mindset. So anybody that's listening to this podcast, go check out that one, because I promise you, Tondo's got gold. And plus, like I always say about you, you got that accent, so it doesn't matter what you say. You sound brilliant. I always say that about you. It doesn't matter what you say. You could be ordering a Chick-fil-A and it still sounds amazing.
I love you, Kizzy.
Oh, you're awesome. Well, dude, let's jump into it today, man. How can I serve you, and what's on your mind?
Right. So I've been really looking at the subject of longevity and missionality, and so I wanted to just ask a couple of questions here and get your input. Now, I think first of all, PC, longevity in leadership is now a rarity. It's vintage. Again, longevity in marriage, in business. There's been a shift, and you see, people don't commit for long or last long in anything nowadays. Right. In fact, what we used to call stability back then, if you stayed in something long enough, is now called stagnation. Now, what would you say are the 3 key mindsets, or are the key mindsets that lead to longevity in leadership, where you can have leaders that can really last long?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question, and you're 100% correct. It's almost like longevity has become a little bit more enemy than it is to be embraced. Whereas, and I think longevity is about character and the ability to, I think that's, to me, I think a lot of success happens in staying the same course and going after it day after day. I think we overestimate what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And by realizing, man, if we stay the course, stay the course of in that one lane, it's like John Maxwell. 20 years ago, he was the leadership guy. 30 years ago, he's the
Mm,
leadership guy. He's still the leadership guy. You know, if it was like, well, he's the leadership guy. Now he's the church growth guy. Now he's the, HR expert. Now he's an accounting expert. Now he's doing this. He never flip-flopped. He stayed the course,
right.
kept producing material, concepts, ideas in the same course. And clearly,
Mm,
it's paid off for him in enormous ways because he has stayed the course. And I think that there is a power of character and there is a power of success that comes in staying the course and not underestimating what you could do in a 10-year
mm,
span, staying that course and realizing that what could I get done? How could I become the expert? I think, one of the things is in a very noisy world is to separate yourself.
right.
Social media, there's 100 million posts a day. Podcasts, there's 100 million of them. But what is it that makes that USP, the ultimate strategic position, that makes you unique than anybody else? And it's very difficult to be known as an expert in an area in which you only spent 2 or 3 years. And then you go over here or
Mm,
you go over there. Same thing with a lead pastor. I think there's
right.
something to be said for the guy that stays there, stays the course, keeps working hard at it, tries to get
Mhm.
better, tries to keep moving forward. Now, I do think you said the word stagnation, and I think that
Mhm.
there is a point of stagnation that could happen. Now,
Right.
so for instance, a guy gets in longevity, he's year 15 at a church or year 20 at a church. That's on him if he becomes stagnant. That's on him. That's not longevity's fault. That's our
Right.
fault that we become stagnant. We're not growing. We're not developing. We're not getting coaching. I've got 3 coaches in my life that I talk to all the time. You have got to have people in your life. So if stagnation happens, that's not, well, I've been at the same place for a long time and I'm stagnant. No, you're stagnant because you are stagnant. You're stagnant
Mm,
because you're allowing yourself to become to that position. One thing's interesting as you get older. I think people need to separate the word age and the word spirit. And here's what I mean.
mhm.
We're all getting older. Everybody's getting older. And you get older, you get more tired. That's a fact. You get older, your
Yeah.
body doesn't bounce back as fast. That's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, I I I think that our aging is a natural process of life. And
Mhm.
our aging, we get older, no doubt. Our bodies age. Our
Mhm.
spirit doesn't have to age.
Right.
Our spirit never dies. So someone that
Mhm.
you take someone like John Maxwell, who's 76 years old or 78, whatever he is, still
Mhm.
writing number one sellers, still traveling, trying to change the world. His body is aging, but his
Mhm.
spirit is still alive and passionate and fresh. Dick Foth, I just spoke to him on the phone last week. Guy's 80 in his 80s. Still traveling, still
Mm.
writing books, still doing stuff, still coming out with ideas. His body's aging. He's not clearly he doesn't run
Right.
a mile in 5 minutes. His body's aging, but his spirit isn't aging.
Isn't
And I think
aging.
longevity, people confuse longevity, like you said, with stagnation. Stagnation is something we have to own. Stagnation is our choice. The body's going to age. The spirit doesn't have to age.
Right.
Our spirit needs to stay alive, renewed, excited, vision. I think it's we get into this point where our we think that our spirit is look, dude, you can be 90 and still have something to say. You can be
Right.
90 and
Right.
still writing a book. You can be 90 and still coaching someone like this. You can still add value to the kingdom. Just because your body's
Mm.
aging doesn't mean your spirit has to.
Right. Right. I think one of the things that would probably become a challenge for a lot of leaders is is just the weight of leadership as you go along the way. Someone
Yep.
said, well, it's not even loving Jesus, that's the problem. It's more loving Judas, that's the problem.
Hmm.
And I think the downside of ministry weighs a lot on leaders, that they
Yep.
feel really, really worn out. What would you say is key to strengthening leaders on the longevity journey, so that the downside of it doesn't exhaust them to that point?
Yep. Well, I think exhausted. Couple thoughts. One, we don't tend to burn out in our strengths. We tend to burn out in our weaknesses. And so when we're running in lanes that we shouldn't be running in, I think that's where we find it. We're running in lanes that are weakness. We're allowing ourselves to be pulled away. I think that's part of it. The other part of it is, like you said, man, we're loving Jesus, but it's harder to love Judas. To me, that statement centers around there's people in ministry that are going to hurt you. There's people in ministry that are going to say something bad about you. There's people in ministry that's going to allow their cynicism to turn into criticism. There's going to be people that do that in your life and in your ministry. And your ability to be able to push through that, get to the other side, not allow every criticism to bring you down, not allow every single word to bring you down. I think I told you about Godwin. He's a pastor in Ghana, and he's from Africa, and he lives in Africa, and he builds water wells for his people and hospitals and all that. And I saw a leader one time, I was there in Ghana with him, and I saw a leader get in his face, criticize him. I was like, man, that was strong. And he got in the car, and he was pretty happy. And I was like, you okay? And he goes, I love what he said. He said, I have learned to live above it. And I think that's a powerful position for us as leaders that I don't think it's automatic. I think, Tondo, you have to learn to live above it. People are going to criticize. People are going to hurt you. People are going to leave your church, even though you helped them pay their mortgage 2 months ago. They're going to help you. They're going to do all of that stuff. But you got to learn to live above it. If you don't learn to live above it, you're going to run away from that ministry, go to the next one thinking it won't be as critical over there. And you'll find that people are people no matter what place you go to. And I think that I see a lot of pastors get hurt. I see a lot of pastors allow the weight of ministry, the weight of what people say, people leaving, it weighs us down. But some way we have to learn to live above it. Or otherwise, we're living in this constant state of being beat down. And I just don't think that's the way that Christ would want us to live in ministry. I think ministry always has to have joy and fruit. You got to have the fruit of your ministry, but you got to also have some joy. And if we allow people to constantly rob us of our joy, then we might have some fruit, but we never have the joy. And I don't think that's the way God wants us to live our life, nor to live our ministry life. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I remember a couple of months ago, myself, a couple of other pastors, we went away, for a soul care retreat. And I remember coming back. I mean, just the process. I mean, the 3-4 days of that retreat. Just to see pastors, just pour out their soul and the weight of ministry, and we cried with one another. We held one another. I came back refreshed, but I couldn't push away the feeling that a lot of leaders feel that taking, or rather engaging in soul care, slows down their pace of ministry, and so you find leaders are going for long without being able to even process what they're feeling, or even have a group of trusted people to talk to.
Yep.
What is
Yep.
the value of soul care in the context of longevity?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I can tell you, in the first part of my ministry, I would have been that guy saying, I don't need it. I'm fine. I'm good. Don't worry about it, or it takes too much time. On the back half of my ministry, I'm starting to realize how unwise I was to think that way, that I lacked wisdom in realizing that I've got to step away. I think there's a difference between working in ministry and working on it. I think there's a difference from pulling back and being refreshed, having a time to sort out strategy, having time to just sort out like my life, my priorities. We're always in. We walk in the office and it's constant all day long, and then we do it the next day, and we do it the next day, and then Sunday finally comes and we do it all over again. Versus stepping back, allow my heart to be refreshed, allow my marriage to be refreshed, my relationship with my kids to be refreshed. Maybe even from a refreshed standpoint, being able to look at my ministry, productivity, strategy, direction, focus, vision, mission, all that. I'm able to step back and look at that. I think it is the first part of my ministry, I was very unwise to think that I didn't need it.
Right.
And on this side of it, at Church Boom, people that are churches that are being rescued, we send them on soul care retreats. We pay for all that. They don't have to pay for it. We raise the money because we believe in it so much. Churches that are under 100, trying to get them over 100, they join the rescue program. We coach them and all that. But some course during the year, man, we want to bless them, and they don't have to pay for it because we want them to realize the power of leading from a position of being refreshed. Wayne Cadero, years ago, pastor in Hawaii. That's a hard place to minister. Someone's got to live in Hawaii, Tondo. someone's got to suffer. Someone's got to suffer and learn how to surf. But he's got a massive church in Hawaii, and he wrote a book years ago. Great book. He wrote a book called "Leading on Empty." What a great title! And I think that if we are not careful, we will be leading on empty. I think our people deserve better. Our congregation deserves better. They don't need us leading on empty. They need us leading from a place of that our tank is full. If we lead from empty, we have nothing to offer. We have nothing to give. We have no insight, nothing new, nothing fresh. We lack passion. Yeah. You have to do it. And, and again, this is about as old as can get, but the whole thing, God rested on the seventh day, and I think we all kind of say that in theory, but even though it's been said 150 million times, it's still a great point. Like, did he rest because he was tired, or did he rest to send us a message? And I think he rested to send us a message.
Send us a message.
Not because he was tired. I can't imagine God being tired. He's God. But I think he did it to send us a message. Look, you got to rest. I worked for 6 days and I took a rest. You got to rest. You got to lead from a position of refreshed, not a position of empty. Leading on empty never works. It always hurts you. It'll always hurt your family. It'll always hurt your ministry.
Wow. Now, another challenge. You know what? I put aside all the tough questions, so please allow me to ask them.
Yeah, you do it. Do it all, man. Do it all.
You the one, man. I know who's got some answers here.
Well, I don't know about that, but
how do we rise above the settlement mentality in leadership, where sometimes leadership itself can become a trap when you are used to leading all the time.
Yeah.
And you find that how do we stay humble and submitted to the people around us so that we don't develop that recalcitrant mentality where as a leader you end up being inflexible and refusing to change because you feel you kind of know it all. I see that a lot of times we end up shipwrecking because of that. What input would you give in terms of wisdom?
Well, I can tell you two things that I've done in my life that I think have been really helpful in that area. One, for the last, well over 15 years, approaching 20, I've always had a coach in my life. I've always had a coach, because it always lets me know how much more I need to learn. It always lets me know that he's on third base and I still feel like I'm on second. I haven't even got there yet. It reminds me how much I still need to learn, how much I still need to grow and develop. I think that I think everybody should have a coach. I think you're coaching, I'm coaching. We have a church boom coaches, hundreds of pastors, but I have to have a coach for me because I want to grow. And I think it reminds me how much I don't know. Yeah, it's easy to be the smartest guy in the room if you find the right room. But being the smartest guy in the room doesn't make you smart. It just, it might feed your ego like, hey, I walk in, I'm the man. I think you need to, Maxwell always says if you're the smartest guy in the room, find a new room. I think you got to find it, I think when I'm with my coaches, I'm like, man, I got a lot to learn. Wow, I never thought of that. Wow, I never thought of that. It is constantly I'm going, never thought of that, never thought of that, never thought of that. You realize how much you need to grow. And I think that keeps your humility in check and transparency from the people around you. The other thing I would say is this. This is an interesting one, because I think the coaching one is important, and I think people say that a lot. The coaches do, like myself and you and others. But the other side of that is, I think there's something powerful when you put yourself into a position where you're sitting in the second chair. So, for instance, Church Boom, I might be in the first chair. I'm the founding pastor of South Hills, so for years I'm in the first chair. It's like I'm the boss. But for the last 11 years, I have served helping and being a part of the team of Convoy of Hope to help feed children around the world. I don't sit in the first chair. I have someone I have to answer to, someone I have to report to. If I agree with everything, or I think I would do that a little different, doesn't matter. I'm in the second chair. There is a natural tension between the first and second chair. When you're a second chair leader with first chair responsibilities, that's tension. When you're a second chair leader with first chair abilities, that's tension. And I think that tension is healthy. I think that's a good tension. So I tell leaders all the time. I told a leader a while back, a pastor friend of mine in another state, I'm like, you need to find a place where you're serving in a second chair, because everything you say to do something, everybody does it. You need to serve in a second chair so you know what it means to line up with authority. So coaching and sitting in a second chair. Those two, I think, create the humility and the realization of who you are. Those two things.
Man, you are speaking, PC. You are speaking today. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff.
Good.
Wow. Now, PC, mission drift. Because one of the things that compromise longevity is mission drift when we move away from our mission. I mean, I remember doing a study and seeing a lot of these once great organizations that have suffered mission drift.
Yep.
What are the mindsets that are responsible for that in terms of from a leadership position? How do leaders remain missional in leading across generations, and what are the key mindsets that actually facilitate people drifting from their mission?
Yeah, well, great question. I think that when you look at mission drift, something I always say vision always leaks and people always drift. You have to know that those two are happening all the time, not sometimes, all the time. Vision always leaks, people always drift. Our job as leaders is to make sure that the glass of vision is always full, and that we are constantly creating vision, keeping vision in front of the people, keeping culture in front of people so that they don't drift. Now, as leaders, we have a tendency to drift from, especially in the church world, we drift towards mission, away from mission, because of what I call external pressures. So here you are as a mission going, okay, this is our mission. I'm the lead pastor. This is what we got to do. This is what we got to focus on, whatever. External pressure comes along when someone says to you, we should do more for the men's ministry. We should do more for the women's ministry. We should do more for the homeless. We should have longer worship. We should allow the Holy Spirit to move more. They come in with their outside opinion. We feel that pressure because maybe they're related to a lot of people in the church, and if we make them unhappy, well, that hurt a lot of people. Maybe they're a big giver in the church, and man, we rely on the gifts and donations. So now all of a sudden, we're trying to be mission critical as a leader, and then we're giving in to that cry of that person, that need of that person that's bringing up something that's pulling us away from mission, but we're giving in because of fear. We give in because what if they leave the church? What if they don't give? What if they don't do this? What happens to this? What happens to this? I think that fear is one big part of it. I think the other part of it is our need to people please. And when both of those are starting to play into perspective, We have this mission, but we want to people please. We have this mission, but we're afraid. What if they leave? What if they stop giving? And it pulls us away. So here's this target we're going after. Here's this external pressure that's pulling us away from what is mission critical in our life. That's where mission drift happens. I think one of the big places it happens is from external pressure. That's one thing. Second thing I would say is it would also be external pressure, but in a different way. It's when we idolize or we see someone doing ministry, doing better than we do in ministry, conquering more, doing more. And instead of staying true to our mission, we find ourselves chasing the best idea or the latest idea. Well, that's how you should do generosity. That's how you do leadership. That's how you should do volunteering. And we find, and I'm not saying you don't go get best ideas. You want best practices. But there's a difference between seeking best ideas and seeking best ideas out of jealousy or a feeling of insecurity because we're chasing what someone else is doing and we're trying to bring their revival into our house. And I think that that's a dangerous place to be. I'm all about get the best idea, but you got to know in your heart, are you chasing that because it's a great idea, or are you chasing that because you think it is the silver bullet that's going to all of a sudden make things grow, and you're chasing it because of your insecurity or your jealousy or whatever? So either way, it's an external thing that happens that pulls us away from that mission critical that we should stay focused on. Our job to stay there, our job to keep people moving there. Our job is to constantly move people towards this is who we are, this is what we do, this is what we're all about. We can't go off and do these other things. This is who we are, this is what we do, this is what we're all about. I think that you live in Texas, so you guys now have the luxury of In-N-Out hamburger, the famous In-N-Out hamburger. Not every state has them. So all the people in Texas like to talk about Whataburger, which doesn't even come close to In-N-Out, but now I just lost all the Texas crowd. But we love In-N-Out. But here's what I love about In-N-Out, man, is I was there, went there about 10:30 at night after a baseball game. A pastor was in town last week. We stopped at In-N-Out on the way home, 10:30 at night. There had to be 200 people there. I'm like, it's unbelievable how crowded it is. Now, what I love about them is, and no matter what, you go there at night, there's going to be a long line. What I love is this. We do hamburgers and we do cheeseburgers. Now, some people are like, well, you can double it up. You can do animal style. You can have 4 patty. Yeah, I understand that. But at the end of the day, it's hamburgers and cheeseburgers. So if you and I are sitting on the board of In-N-Out and we're like, we need to start doing tacos. We need to start doing sushi. They're going to look at us like, you're out of your mind. There's one thing we do well. We make great hamburgers. That's what we do. And they are insanely mission critical. They're not going to drift. They're not going to go out. Jack in the Box. You put a Jack in the Box and In-N-Out right next to each other. In-N-Out's going to have 150 people in line. Jack in the Box is going to have 2. Because Jack in the Box has everything. Yeah. They got egg rolls, teriyaki, tacos, hamburgers, Fruit Loops, whatever you want. They got everything. It's like, quit trying to be everything. What are you to be? What's your mission critical? What's your thing? What's your mission? What's your drive? Stay true to that, and don't let external pressure of outside voices or your own insecurity pull you away from being mission-minded and staying true to what God's called you to stay true to. So, anyway.
This is powerful stuff.
Well, man, dude, we're running out of time. Any other thing you wanted to jump ahead to in a subject or follow up? We got a couple more minutes left.
Oh, okay. No, absolutely. I think it's just to maybe get a word of encouragement on understanding the mission, understanding, the spirit of the organization and being able to communicate that. They say vision is not taught, it's caught. How do we keep people in a place where they can catch the vision? Because that speaks to the longevity, the pure longevity of the organization. Because a lot of times we want to teach it, but we don't know how to have them catch it.
100%. So vision in my opinion, people ask all the time, or a lot, how do we cast vision better? How do I keep people on track with vision? Some guys don't know how to cast it well. There are three components that I think help a pastor think through, or a leader think through, about their vision and making sure that they're getting people moved towards it. Three things have to happen. One, there has to be clarity. I don't think we have a lot of that. If you ask the pastor, what's your vision, and it takes him 7 minutes to explain it, he doesn't have clarity. He should be able to explain it under 60 seconds. Let me tell you exactly what we're doing. Let me tell you exactly where we're headed. Okay, clarity. Second one is language. Language shapes behavior, and behavior shapes culture. Language has to be there. And what I mean by language is the ability, it's like, let me use church rescue as an example. So when we first said a few years ago, Church Boom wants to now rescue churches. We're doing executive coaching, but we rescue churches. But we said, this is how it came about. We're in a room with 15 people, and I'm like, hey, man, guys, churches are closing more than they're opening. We have a massive decline in church attendance, a massive decline in amount of churches in America. We got to do something, man. I love planting churches, but if we're planting 1,000 and losing 2,000, that's not going to help. Yeah. So then we just sort of started thinking about, like, well, what if we called it church rescue, like bar rescue? Then we came up with this line, what if rescue churches rescue people? Now it's personal. It's not just some building. It's like, whoa, rescue churches rescue people. And then we even went farther, and rescue churches will rescue America. That language took us about 3 or 4 months to sort of take this idea of, like, man, churches are closing. Someone's got to do something. Yeah, that's kind of like, out here. And then we started getting clearer. Then we got clearer. Then we got clearer. And then it was like, okay, now let's get the language down to this is what we do. This is who we are. It wasn't about a mission statement. It was just about the ability in less than 30 seconds to say, hey, tell me what church rescue is all about. Let me tell you what it's all about. And in 30 seconds, I could just say, well, America's closing 2,000 for every 1,000 opens. 84% of churches are in decline. 76% of pastors feel like they don't know what to do. We're losing big time, and we want to rescue churches. We think that rescue churches will rescue people, and rescue churches will rescue America. That took me 20 seconds, and it's like clear. The language is clear. Clarity, language, and the third one is urgency. Urgency,
yeah.
Urgency. So the vision, in my opinion, the vision that catches fire is the vision that can be communicated with urgency. And here's sort of a thought process of urgency. Right. This is so important that if we don't do this, blank will happen. If we don't do this, blank is going to, like, something not good is going to happen. Okay, rescue churches. Let me just tell you.
Consequence. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, like I was going to say, in the rescue churches, it's like, we're going to become the next Europe. We're not going to become a nation under God anymore. If we don't do something, the fastest growing religion in America is Muslim. If we don't do something about it, and we don't start rescuing churches, this is what's going to happen for your kids and your grandkids. Now that is a sense of, like, whoa, that's a little bit more urgent. It wasn't just like, okay, that was clear. That was language. But now we attach some urgency to it. The vision has to have a sense of urgency. If we don't do blank, man, this is what's going to happen. If we don't do this vision, this is what's going to happen. Well, what is this that's going to happen? And there has to be an urgency to it. So clarity, language, urgency. That's how I think you grab a vision, keep it in front of the people with clarity, language, and urgency. If there's no urgency, then why respond? Why do anything about it today? There's no urgency. We'll get to it next year. But if there's urgency, that changes everything. So does that help?
You hit it out of the park.
Oh,
I feel like giving an offering.
I'm always open to that. Well, man, dude. Man, thank you for being on. You're a brilliant thinker. You always ask amazing questions. And again, man, your podcast, Crafted Mindset. So if you are listening to this, please check out Tondo Sibanda's Crafted Mindset podcast. But thanks for being on, man. I appreciate you, bro. Love you, man.
Thank you. Thank you, PC. Love you too.
All right. Okay, buddy. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Man, I hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Tondo. Man, I felt like it was really just authentic about dealing with criticism and the pain and the hurt that comes from leadership. And man, I hope that you grow from this conversation today. Also want to remind you to go to churchboom.org and check out the Church Boom Network. If you do not belong to a network, even if you do, this is an incredible network to belong to. Monthly, you can get together with other pastors on Zoom and learn and grow with each other. Twice a year, we get together. It is all in person, and we get together, hang out, get to know each other, grow together. It is all about having a tribe, learning together, growing together, learning to lean on each other. So make sure you check out churchboom.org and check out the Church Boom Networks, and we'll see you next time on the Fly on the Wall podcast.